Welcome to the Matt Report, a podcast for building businesses with WordPress. Subscribe to the Matt Report at mattreport.com/subscribe. And now your host, Matt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Matt Report. This is Season 3, that's right, we're kicking off Season 3 finally. Now really getting back to the roots. If you heard the introduction, you might know that beat from the original Matt Report. So we're going back old school. We're really going to dive back into the WordPress entrepreneur's mind, having these discussions, these deep dive discussions on how they built their business, sort of the ups and downs of all of that, and any lesson that we can sort of garner from them during that conversation. That's what we're going to do on the Matt Report, and super excited today to be joined by Mike McAlister of Array.is. I've been a huge fan of Mike for quite some time, watching him build his theme shop and sort of and his, of course, design capabilities first and foremost. So it's very it was a very enjoyable conversation for me to sit down and finally talk to Mike about how he built his business. If you want to subscribe, it's mattreport.com/subscribe. And if you haven't heard, I do have a new podcast coming out. It's called Plugged In Radio. You can sign up for that over at pluggedinradio.com, and I will be announcing or releasing that podcast very soon, along with a new website for that URL. So go ahead and sign up at pluggedinradio.com. Without further ado, let's dive into the show. I'm really excited to have that conversation again, starting with this episode and Mike McAlister of Array.is. Now, Mike operates this theme shop, which I dub a boutique theme shop. I don't know if Mike agrees with that, but we'll find out if he does. And you know, that's a label that I'm putting on it because I feel like a boutique anything, right? So I call my agency a boutique agency. I say this to clients. We are an agency under 12 people. It's a boutique agency. It's something that I feel has more craftsmanship built into it, a little bit of more thought put into product and service, and I feel like that's what Mike is doing over at Array.is. And we're going to dive into that business today and talk about that. And listen, I've been envious of Mike's products and sort of methodology and approach to this space for quite some time, ever since Array.is was OK Themes. And I'm eager to talk about that sort of rebranding and how that sort of positioned his business and things like that. So let's dive right in. Mike, welcome to the program, sir.
Hey, thank you so much. And congrats on Season 3, by the way. That's really awesome.
I really wish, thank you. I really wish that I actually like every other podcaster in the world and actually numbered every episode. But I'm somewhere in, I only show 100 episodes in iTunes. I'm probably up to 120, 130 something episodes of the Matt Report, and then like 200 other videos on my other YouTube channel. It's ridiculous, but thank you. So I'm really excited to have Season 3 sort of get back to the roots of this business building.
So what a good time to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So folks who don't know who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so I am Mike McAlister. As you mentioned, I do run a boutique WordPress theme shop, and I would agree wholeheartedly with that term for that. We're a pretty small theme shop. We focus on creating themes that are pretty, just kind of beautiful out of the box. By only adding your content to these products, do you build your site? You don't really have to fiddle around with settings, although we do have, little helpful things here and there. But we're sort of the pushback to the theme bloat, the feature heavy, confusing, time wasting solutions that are out there, which those have their place for some people. But we've decided to focus on just honest design, just really clean code, and making products that are like extendable and easy to use. So that's me. I work with my coworker John Paris, and together we manage the theme collection. And we're just trying to get our themes out there into the right hands.
Nice. I love that approach. It's somewhat similar to the approach that we take at Slocum Themes, but we're not. One of the things that we don't pronounce or really put out there is sort of the design element. We much like you were saying, good products, good support, good code, or I guess I could replace that with great. And sort of like, this, we do good work. One of the things, I'm trying to find my phone here on my desk. I snapped a photo, which is very fitting for today's conversation. I snapped a photo at a breakfast joint. You know how the breakfast places you go, and there's the placemats that have the advertisements on them.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So there was this ad, and I literally laughed out loud when I saw this. There was an ad on the placemat for an auto repair shop, and the tagline was "Out to make a living, not a killin'." Right?
That's honesty right there.
Right, and I said, that's an honest approach, and coming from the car industry, it's I can certainly attest to that. I really feel, and I had these sort of thoughts swirling around my head, and I'd love to get your take on it. I really feel that web design, web development, even our digital products now, like folks like you and I, we're becoming this sort of tradesperson kind of level, right? So
sure.
As one might hire, I hate to say this because I know a lot of people probably throw their iPods as they're working out at the gym right now, but as a lot of plumbers, you have a leaky faucet, and you don't want to pay a lot to get this leaky faucet, so you're not going to bring in like this 40-year plumber veteran that's going to charge you $5,000 to show up. You just kind of want somebody who's going to be like $100 and come and fix my leaky faucet.
Totally.
But there's some like honest, good work and value still in that. I kind of feel like we're going in that direction, or there's like this sort of hint of it, even in our digital product space. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I could agree with that. I mean, at the end of the day, you're looking for a tool or a service that you can't do yourself. And, especially in the web world now, well, just kind of everywhere. Everyone's looking to save money. No one wants to spend the most money on everything. And so you kind of look for alternatives. And luckily, there's a huge gamut of services and products that you can buy the most expensive one. You can buy the cheap one, or you can go like right in the middle. You can call the $100 plumber. And he's going to do a great job probably and get the job done. Your faucet's going to be clean. And, you're going to probably go that way going forward. You found something that works. And, I think you are right. There is some sort of parallel to where we're going right now. Absolutely.
Do you think that's, in our world anyway, folks who have been running digital businesses, and I guess even folks who are just kicking off and trying to make this journey a reality, is there any kind of, are you scared about that at all? Like, we talk about value-based pricing and getting as most as we can out of our hourly wage, or don't charge hourly, only do it project-based. Like, what do you feel like this might erode the overall value at all? Do you have any concerns of like that?
To some extent, I think. I mean, with the amount of tools that are out there for web development, design, and what have you, it is, the barrier to entry is much lower, and particularly even in WordPress. You have a content management system that's free at your fingertips, and you can get some clients going. You can start using WordPress. You can even use free themes to run their websites. So, I mean, you are at risk of being in competition with a vast amount of people.
Yeah.
And it does get tricky. I think that's where becoming specialized, or becoming more trustworthy, or becoming the person with the better design, or even the better support. I think that's where you start to differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really feel like we're sort of teetering on the edge of, and this is kind of going a little off the core topic here, but I think that we're sort of on the edge of, look, people can go to a trade school and learn how to be better plumbers, right? So they're not just they're sort of not just hacks anymore with with like a pipe wrench and some glue.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And I'm kind of feeling like shy of higher education and sort of the typical university education. I'm really feeling like there can be a trade school environment for web and technology, and WordPress is a great tool
Oh, absolutely.
to build on that fundamental. So it's sort of
I
an
would-
interesting time because I see and the biggest rant is I see so many like web design shops like in my area, and they unfortunately they are a bunch of hacks. I just don't have a better way of putting it.
I hear you.
Because look, we're in business too, and although our dollar value per project is a lot higher than it was 5 years ago, some folks look at us and go, "Oh my God, $5,000." Johnny down the street said it was only $500.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really feel like some of those people should go to school to learn
No kidding.
all of this stuff. But I don't know. Anything else you want to riff on about that?
I would say that if those people who say, well, this guy's going to do it for $500, they'll quickly learn what $500 will get them.
Right.
And hopefully, that is sort of a lesson to be learned and something that they take forward with them. But back to your point about the kind of trade school thing about web and stuff, I would love to see something more dedicated to that kind of stuff. I mean, I started to go to school for what I thought was like design, but once you're in school, university, it becomes very clear that like the lessons and everything they're light years behind. I was using, apps that were like outdated by 10 years, and they're like trying to convince you that you're going to get a web design job after you graduate with this kind of stuff. It's like, I don't know. And I used WordPress and tools like that to sort of overcome that, and just leapt out on my own and became a professional without getting a professional, status or whatever. So
Sure.
Yeah.
And to kind of glue this thread of thought together is my point about bringing up the plumber and the $500 website is I really think that, and I'll be honest, we might do it from time to time where there's like a nonprofit organization that comes in and they tell us, hey, look, we're either really friendly with them or we kind of know them or referral, and they're like, look, we only have $500. We will sit them down with one of our guys, and one of our guys will build a site for them in an hour with all the right stuff. And I feel like properly trained, $500 can get you a good site, so long as the person putting it together for you knows what they're doing. They've quickly trained you. And I mean, again, we're building Facebook for $500, but like a typical 5-page marketing site, if it takes us an hour and a half, and somebody just trusts us to do it, and they're not dragging us, all over the place. Hey, look, somebody can get a great solution for that, and somebody can provide them a great solution for that dollar value. But I just wish people cared a little bit more about what it was that they were offering them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So slight sidetrack there, but let's get back to the theme business here. One of the things that you do with your themes, which I think is so great because I'm using it on my up and coming project for Plugged In Radio, is there? Hey, Matt, you own a theme shop and you're using somebody else's theme. That's blasphemy.
Yeah, right.
Well, let me tell you why, and we'll discuss that in this next piece here. So, when we sell our themes, we take the sort of same stance: limited options to do, to basically build the site as you put it, by just adding content and not modifying all these theme options, which I think is great. But customers who use it, we get the typical thing where somebody downloads one of our themes and they say, oh, where's the option to, change it to, XYZ font, or where's the option to change, the footer gradient? and you're like, where did you see that option?
There was no gradient.
There was no gradient to begin with, right? Or how do you center absolutely everything in this theme? Where's the option to do that? How do you battle that? How do you battle that sort of feature gluttony that folks like, that a majority of folks like, with your themes? Like, how do you balance that?
Yeah, it's taken a while, definitely, because back in the heyday of WordPress themes, kind of when it was not just starting, but after the went over the edge and Theme Forest, and just everyone was making WordPress themes, and it became a race for features. That mentality is obviously still very prevalent today. I mean, everyone wants a setting for everything. And particularly those customers who come from ThemeForest and those marketplaces, they're used to those kinds of things, and they want to buy one theme that does everything. So that's okay for those people. But for us, and I think it's only because of conditioning our customers and because we've become known that we just do things that are different and they're not packed with features. They have become more acclimated to, okay, well, if I get an array theme, I'm going to be able to build a site pretty quickly. I will be able to extend it how I want. I can change the stuff out. So I guess it comes down to the kind of user we have. They're not necessarily beginners, they're not super advanced, but they can work with themes. And I think that also helps to sort of combat that a little bit.
Yeah. Would you say that it's sort of an advantage? I mean, I don't know if you track any of the data or anything like that, but do you find it a particular advantage to position yourself that way so that when folks go for support, they're more conditioned to it?
Yeah. And it also lends to us having less support because we build the themes to pretty strict standards. We review them through WordPress and all that. So there's less moving parts to break. There's less, there's just less to go wrong. We put hooks and filters in where necessary. So when that customer does come to us, and that's another thing I think with certain features or certain parts of a theme is just anticipating what people are going to want to change. And that's something that we've gotten better at over the years. It's like, well, we know they're going to want to change this part of the layout or this or that. So we'll put the little things in place ahead of time. So when they do come to us, it's like, okay, yeah, you can do that. Here's how, hook it onto here, and off you go. So we're also, we're not loading it with features, but we're making it just ready to be customized for the people who need to,
Sure. Do you have feature envy when you look at other themes? Do you ever say to yourself, man, if we just did this, maybe we'd see an increase in sales? Like, do you ever have that?
Yeah, to an extent. If that's another thing. If we get enough requests, and it doesn't even have to be a ton, but if 5 people write in and they're looking for the same thing and it makes sense, we'll absolutely just add it in there because we're not out there to just take things away from people. Sure. We're building things in a way that we're saying, okay, this is what we think you'll probably need to do this, or like this is probably the tools you'll need. But yeah, people, and people do, they come to us and they request certain things. We'll just add it to the theme if it makes sense. And it's better to just please them in that way. Right. And just sort of see eye to eye with them on a human level and be like, yeah, you're right. That would be cool to add. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we took the same approach, and sometimes I wonder if, a lot of us in the WordPress space, building products in the WordPress space, get too hyper focused on, I would never, we would never add this many lines of code. We would never add this much bloat to our, to our theme or plugin. And I say that because as a product designer for a quote unquote builder plugin, right? I have Conductor plugin, right. And that was a very, very opinionated, or it is a very opinionated piece of software where we're saying like, look, we're not gonna do this sort of drag and drop layer of extra UI, UX that all these other plugins do. We're taking this very opinionated stance, and what happens is folks sort of see a demo of our product, and then they see a demo of Visual Composer, and then they buy our product, and then they say, where are all those features from Visual Composer?
Right.
And we're sort of stuck in this space where we do get a lot of customers come in that say, we want all these features. Where are they? I don't see them in your product. To the point where I feel like, man, if we just added, 20% of those, we'd probably do really well. And it almost becomes like, well, why don't we? I don't know. I just feel like sometimes we get stuck in this, like, we're only going to do it this way, and that's it.
I'm guilty of that as well, and it comes from my stubbornness to just not have to compete in that way with people,
Right.
with other people. But I mean, have you found that you can iterate on some of these things and find a happy medium that's like, okay, we can add that, but not this other thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could go on forever about that whole scenario, but yes, I mean, I think I do, and I really feel like, you know, the detriment of, well, I don't want to word it that way, but I would say that we look at WordPress as our platform, and we feel like, let me take another step back. Let me reset this whole thought.
Yeah, sure.
We look at the WordPress customizer as an opportunity. And we say to ourselves, well, if the entirety of WordPress is going to move to the customizer to build a website, let's say, then we should focus our efforts within the WordPress customizer and not build an entire layer on top of our plugin.
Yeah.
But the issue with that is WordPress users are not conditioned to use the customizer, not yet anyway, or not a majority of them are not. And the customizer is still a piece of technology in play, right? It's still
absolutely.
It's still in motion. But our hard-headedness has guided us to use the customizer only, for better or for worse, and that is a particular challenge, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know, but I'm sure you've seen the same thing because, I mean, moving to the customizer is not only plugins, but obviously
absolutely.
themes
And
as well.
I think the past couple releases of WordPress and some of the upcoming ones are definitely addressing some of the pain points of working within the customizer. So that helps. And then one other thought about, you know, adding features in or, you know, iterating and stuff like that is, I don't think customers really realize that you're, you know, with each little thing you're adding, you are adding something that could go wrong. And it can add up to a lot of technical debt. You know, you have these code bases that just grow and grow. And with each release of WordPress, it's something that has to be watched and maintained and made sure. So that's another thing I think I could probably do better with explaining to people. It's like, well, you might want that feature, but I don't want to have to manage that feature if you know 100 other people aren't going to use it.
Right.
So yeah, it's tricky.
You know, and did you know that the WordPress theme, WordPress.org theme uploader is now capping out at 25 megabytes?
I did not.
So what theme, right? And I know this because we're gonna sort of segue into that in a moment. Is what theme file is 25 megabytes? Why would it ever need to be 25 megabytes?
Right? I don't know. I mean, I guess if people are loading it with images or something, I have no idea.
Right. So let's talk about that. Where you place your themes. At one point, you were at Theme Forest, and are you back at Theme Forest now?
Yeah, I'm jumping all over the place here. I'm all over the map.
Let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about that. Why were you there? Why did you leave? Why did you come back?
Yeah, so I initially started basically on Theme Forest. I had a little. First of all, the shop used to be called OK Themes. That was like when I first started this thing. I was like, I'm just going to call it OK Themes, sort of facetiously. Which that is another area I think you touch on later. We're going to touch on later is kind of the naming. Sure. But so it was called OK Themes. It was on Theme Forest. And it was definitely less popular in the sense that it didn't have thousands and thousands of theme developers on there. So it was definitely worth the effort. The market was still pretty ripe there, and so that was good. And after being there a few years, things kind of started to change in the way that I could see where expectations for customers were going with these themes that were just essentially mega themes or whatever people want to call them. And it just wasn't. It didn't fit the ethos that I was trying to build products with. And so at the same time, I was also kind of interested in jumping into WordPress.com because that was another interesting area that not a lot of theme developers were in, and I had been invited. So I was like, well, that sounds cool. So I decided to jump over there. And at that time, I did leave Theme Forest. I kind of wanted to focus on building out what would become Array. Because another thing about selling in the marketplace is you have to play by their rules, which they're not like terrible rules or anything per se, but it does limit what you can do with your business. For example, if you're going to be, an exclusive author over there, you can't sell themes on your own website or anybody else's website. So you would be locked into just selling there. Well, if you want to go non-exclusive, you don't really get the amount of money that you should for, selling a product like this, but you can sell in other places. So it's kind of a trade-off that I wasn't really interested in having at that point. I wanted to like bundle my themes and be able to do creative things with marketing and things like that. So I did leave ThemeForest, and that's when I started. I think I relaunched it at that point. I called it Array at that point, Array Themes. And the idea there kind of, like I was saying, it was called OK Themes. And, when you start these things, I was definitely younger, but you don't think ahead of like, well, what's this going to mean for people? What are they going to think about OK Themes? Well, here I am thinking it's like fun and silly and almost facetious, but people definitely didn't see it that way. They definitely thought it was just like okay themes, literally okay, like mediocre themes. Right. And the amount of comments I got over the years, I was like, I had no idea it was going to turn into this. So I definitely had to change it. I honestly don't even remember how I came up with Array. It was just probably literally looking at thesaurus.com for hours and hours. And it is sort of technical in the way that, you deal with a lot of arrays in WordPress, and the word array means a collection. So themes, whatever. So then at that point I was selling on WordPress.com, arraythemes.com I was selling on. And then after a year or two doing that, I did decide to go back to ThemeForest. At that point, it wasn't as critical for me for the business. It wasn't like a make or break theme or thing. So I figured I would dip my toe back in, see what the market was like at that point. And then
it quickly got chopped off by a shark, right? Is that what
basically what happened? Yeah.
So did that process did they make you jump through any additional hoops, or did they welcome you back with open arms?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it was interesting, that's for sure. There was definitely a lot of people who read into it, I think, more than they should have. A lot of people thought like, oh, like Array is not doing well, they have to go back to ThemeForest. But I'm over here like, shaking my head because, I know what my website's doing and I know like my own numbers. So right. I'm like, that's entirely inaccurate, but we'll just go with that.
Sure.
But yeah, no, it was, they did welcome me back, and I had chatted with several people before I had actually went back to sort of see like, well, what's the lay of the land here? What do you all think about this? And but yeah, it did go well, and I am still on there now. I have like a limited amount of WordPress themes on there because I'm still just kind of testing the waters, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're also over at Creative Market as well, correct?
Yeah, and that is Creative Market is definitely slow going, and I just think it's just that the market for themes it's just not vibrant there at all. So I do have a few over there. I don't know honestly how long they will be there, because I mean we're talking maybe a few sales a month.
Sure.
And maybe it's just that they aren't interested in my products. That could be as well, but it just doesn't. I think it's highly focused on graphics and maybe stock photography. So,
gotcha. Because I think I receive I don't know. I think I'm on their newsletter or whatever, and I get that every Monday they send out like a 6-pack of free things, and I think I think a couple weeks ago you might have been featured.
I had submitted that. Like the middle of last year. I had entirely forgotten that I had even submitted that thing. It was my editor theme.
Wow!
And,
so it took almost a half a year to get
it took so long, and then I got an email like a few weeks ago that said it's going to be featured next week, and I was like, okay,
Nice.
I had forgotten, but thank you. Yeah.
So, and speaking of submitting things and taking forever, let's talk about the WordPress.org theme
Yeah.
repo. We submitted our Baton theme first week of December, and yesterday it finally got pushed to an admin for approval.
Wow.
So that's about 6 months and change.
That is crazy.
Speaking of trying to get everywhere, have you thought about going to the WordPress.org repo? I think you already have.
Yeah, we have our editor theme on there, and it did take a while. I don't think it took that long, but it definitely was not overnight.
Sure. Yeah, I think I saw in the theme review Slack channel today, somebody said that they just hit over 800 themes in the review queue.
That's
it's just
crazy.
Tremendous.
And is it come down to just the team? They don't have a big team, or are they more technical in their reviews?
Again, this is another topic that I could rant on, and I am not educated enough to speak about it. I am just the business owner, but my lead developer is the one who actually sort of does all the work. I just look at it from, the standpoint of, we already have 9 themes in there. Our code has been reviewed in the past. We are not a fly-by-night operation. And I really feel like there should be some kind of verified author kind of tag or login that sort of, checks us past the security mark. Well, I shouldn't use the word security, but checks us past the first, the first review somehow.
I agree 100%.
Because we get wrapped up in reviews, and here's what happens. So in this particular one, it was sort of our coding methodology was put into question, like pluggable functions versus filters or something like that. And to me, it's like, okay, like we're talking about like, hey, which way do you bake a potato?
Yeah.
Like, are we really going to talk about that? Or are we going to just, it's still good code. There's nothing wrong with it, and so on and so forth. So sort of these things happen where you either get, number one, not enough reviewers, which is the challenge. Number two, new reviewers, which they just don't know how to manage a review. And then you get sort of these sort of veteran reviewers who are like, I don't think your white spacing is efficient. And it's like, well, okay, 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
And each avenue for releasing themes has these review times, some longer than others. For example, I just submitted a theme to Theme Forest last week. It's literally been in there for 7 days at this point. WordPress.com, I had actually publicly expressed my anger about their review times at one point because it was taking literally months for one theme. And they have a team over there, so it's gotten quicker, but that's that. WordPress.org as well. Creative Market, you can launch it immediately, but it's like crickets over there, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's why there's no line.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta wait. No matter where you go, you gotta wait. But yeah, it's kind of crazy.
So, sort of this spreading yourself around for increased distribution, more eyeballs on the site. What other areas of the business have been good wins for you, or great wins? I'm assuming the rebrand, changing the name. Anything specific within that context, or any other big wins for the business as of recent?
I think just kind of like you said, the rebrand helped in that it sort of changed the way people were perceiving the theme shop, and I think to some degree more seriously. And I also sort of changed the tone of how I spoke on the website, how I projected it, and things like that. That's definitely helped. Getting in the WordPress.org repo kind of gets you exposed to some degree to more people, although they are usually looking for free products, so they're not the best customer. But I think getting just putting your your image in front of people's eyes, putting your name out there, they'll remember that, and they could get back to you one way or another. Let's see. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what about this recent redesign, which I think launched maybe last week at the time of this recording, maybe 2 weeks ago at most?
Yeah, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. And that also helped. Yeah, we did some pricing changes there. I recently wrote a little blog post about a survey that we ran early in the year when I sort of started to work on the redesign. And it was very telling into what the customers were looking for in terms of pricing and what they were anticipating for things like that. So I kind of took that and ran with it and iterated on that, changed the pricing a bit. Previously, we had a theme. It's called a theme pass, and it's essentially like a yearly subscription to our theme club. And it cost $199 previously. And while we did have the occasional purchase, looking around, it was just too high for what people were expecting, especially compared to what other theme subscriptions were doing. So we brought that down to $89. We can tell right away that that's more accurately priced just based on the interest. And it also just helps regulate our pricing across the board because we had themes at all different prices just based on what they were doing. So the redesign recently I think is it's the start of another push of here's who we are, here's what we're doing. And
Do you have any data or customer feedback? We recently did the sort of what you dubbed the theme pass. We did this all inclusive pro pack is what we call it for roughly the same price point. We do $99 for the year.
Sure.
Do you have any data? Because it's hard for me unless I sort of just measure the support requests on a given theme. Do you have any data on, do people use all the themes, or do you think that most people just look at it and go, you know what, I can buy this theme. I can buy this theme for just $50, or for $40 more, I can just get everything. This sounds like a better value, and they just opt to get the better value. Do you think that that's more or less the case? Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally a value buy because, I mean, I don't even customers that I've had around for years, which there are plenty of them who have been around since, the beginning. I know that they're not using all the themes in their theme pass because they never mention it and it never comes up in support. And in a lot of instances, we can see, where their licenses are activated and things like that. So, and also that's, part of the new pricing we did. All standard themes at $49, and then the theme club is at $89. So you're essentially creating a very easy upgrade in their head. It's like, well, $49, or for the cost of another one, I can get all of them. But I mean, it is an incredible value still, and I should hope that. I mean, I'm not even trying to be shady and upsell people. It just is that good of a value. If you ever think you're going to use more than one theme, which you are, because that's inherent in WordPress, just get the theme club. Get them all or whatever. But it totally is definitely it's a value thing. Yeah.
I was thinking the other day, and sort of, we've been working on a redesign for Conductor for quite some time, and hopefully launching by the end of this month. I've been saying that for the last 4 months. And, one of the things I was thinking was, in the traditional product space, let's take Ferraris, for example, or Lamborghinis, or, any kind of custom-made, hand-built, crafted automobile. Sure. Any kind of limited release, limited production, hired to produce or hired to manufacture a car is 4, 5, 6, 10 times the retail price of a Chevy Cruze. Right? Yeah. And I feel like and again, in that same light, those cars are being built by smaller teams, less engineers, there's less dealerships, there's less people involved, but yet the prices are higher to reflect all of these specialized people and parts that go into it. Yet folks like you and I, we give away the entire inventory for $100. Shouldn't it be the opposite?
Oh yeah.
Shouldn't we charge more money?
Absolutely.
How do you maybe you haven't forecasted that far yet, but how do you envision yourself sort of increasing, volume or price per customer, or just dollars per customer? Any magic tricks, or are you just, going and seeing where the market takes you?
Yeah, to some degree that. I think it is tricky with WordPress because of the expectations that people already have.
Sure.
There is less money for people to spend because they're using WordPress, and it inherently is, people are just spending less doing it. But you could. There's a lot of people doing things like upsells, more so on the plugin side, which makes sense. The theme side is kind of the same way. You could do, like release a freemium kind of theme and then sell some upgrades. But it really is tough. You're essentially playing a volume game. And when you're in something like WordPress, you're just a drop in the bucket with, there are theme shops that are doing light years better than I am, and I've never even heard of these things,
Right.
It's just because they're able to game the the AdWords game and things like that. They operate by much more nefarious methods than I would, and naturally they do better. So that's what it is. But no, I think I'm going to stay focused on building quality products. I don't, to be perfectly honest, I don't think I'll make themes for, the next 5 or 10 years. It's just, It's not feasible unless something changes that does become more of a viable option. But I kind of look at it like I'm spending this time crafting products for a mass market, and I'm learning sort of the ins and outs of what to do, what not to do, learning about what users are expecting, what they want, so that when the time comes and I feel like I do want to do something else, I'll have a good head start on, okay, well, I can design things, I can code things, and I kind of know what people want.
Sure.
But that still, having said that, there is still tons of opportunity left in WordPress and themes. People keep trying to say, oh, themes are dead or whatever. It's like, well, I have a vibrant business, so I disagree wholeheartedly.
Right.
People are always going to be looking for websites. If you look at it that way and you're solving the problem of still creating websites, there's plenty of opportunity. Now, how you do that and how creative you are in solving that problem is another thing,
Right. Do you see any opportunity in where, hopefully the the REST API being built into WordPress core? Do you see any kind of sort of app-like theming marketplace or opportunity coming about in the near future?
Yeah, I could see that. I think some people, they keep saying that like, oh, the REST API is coming and it's, going to boom for business. But like, that's only assuming that the people who know how to use it are actually going to wield it in the right way and make something worthwhile with it. It's not inherently more valuable just because it's included. You could technically build the same kind of stuff now with it, but nobody really is. But
nobody is, right?
And
I think that the you could make a, way better looking admin interface that just sort of has like this seamless integration with your front end content. And it's just elegant to manage content and build a website. Yeah. But guess what? Like now you're talking about not only do you ship HTML and CSS and JS that styles this, but you actually need the core code, right? So now you're shipping a whole like sort of software piece, right? So who's really ready to take on, that whole boat?
Exactly.
Let's take this concept of launching a theme company, if we can, and sort of bring it down to what I've dubbed the name of the podcast of today's episode, which I forgot to even say at the top of the show. That's how professional we are around
season 3.
Parts.
I hear.
Right.
Huh?
It's called How to Start a WordPress Theme Business, and we've been talking with Mike about that for the last half hour or so here, sort of learning where he's at with Array and sort of the ups and downs and challenges of that. But if somebody's listening to this right now and they're saying, hey, look, I've got the design chops or I've got the development chops to start a business, and if you're crazy enough, you're somebody like me who has neither. You just decide you want to have a product shop within a services agency. Where would we start? What would if you were to say, you know what, my realistic goal is X, what would that be just to launch the company? It could be a free, get a free theme out there, get a collection of themes built. What do you think your realistic goal would be with launching a theme company if you could do it all over again?
That's a great question. Great question. Let's see. Well, the obvious place to start would probably be a marketplace, just because if you're trying to get something off the ground, even if you had a really sweet theme or plugin or what have you to start with, and you tried to sell it on your own site, the amount of work that you would have to do to market and get traffic there. Like I said earlier, I mean, go ahead and search WordPress themes in Google and see look at your competition. You're looking at just thousands and thousands and thousands of websites that are selling or giving away themes. So you don't want to compete with that right away. Make a name for yourself first, and then maybe start to do that. But marketplaces, that's the thing, is as much as I kind of have grown adverse to these kinds of things, they handle the marketing for you, and that things like sites like ThemeForest have a massive amount of traffic, like unfathomable amount of traffic. They'll feature you on the homepage when you submit a theme. They'll handle the payments for you. They'll even just send you an automated payment when it's all said and done. I mean, they really do take care of all the heavy lifting up front. Now, you're also going to have to compete with all the people on there and play by their rules, but I mean, if you're just kind of dipping your toe in, you don't have too much to lose anyway.
Sure.
So that would be one way. And the other thing I could think of is that, maybe try to submit something to the WordPress.org repo if you are that daring, because you could see some great success there, and you can get a lot of downloads, but you're going to have to provide support for it. But that also could be another great way to learn about how to actually make a theme and what not to do and what maybe to do in your next one.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely attest to that. It's just the time for getting approved over there.
Yeah.
If you could maybe scrap it and start over, would you focus on a particular type of theme or a particular category of themes? Or would you go about it sort of maybe scratch your own itch kind of thing? What's your take on what kind of theme you would launch?
Well, that's another great question. I probably, I might actually do some niche kind of take on it, I think, because while there's still, there's plenty of opportunity to dig into different things. I think maybe starting with that mentality and becoming the go-to for that, whatever that niche or niche would be, I think you sort of give yourself more of an advantage right off the bat of saying like, oh, well, I wanted like a law firm website. Well, go to the place that makes all the law firm themes or what have you.
Sure.
So yeah, I think I might try to do something more niche if I had to start over tomorrow, definitely.
Yeah, versus going up against sort of the Goliaths of the all-purpose, multi-purpose theme.
Definitely.
And competing against that space. There is one thing which I think is very, I tell people I have a podcast about WordPress businesses, and they're like, oh, it's just like any other business, and there is to some degree, but I feel like in the WordPress space there's this ambiguity for products, right? Like it's a law theme, but it's also a great food truck theme, but it's also a great gym theme, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
At what point is there a healthy balance of niching down on a theme, but also having to provide some kind of sort of technical function that really makes it specific? Or do you think that, hey, look, it's really about the design and presentation?
Yeah, I think it very much is about presentation, because if you were to look through a lot of these, let's just go with the law firm thing, for example, if you were to go searching for law firm WordPress themes, now you're going to find them, but the only thing that's going to make it a law firm theme is them saying it is, and that there's going to be lawyers in the header image.
Scales of justice.
Yes, exactly. The little scales. And that is basically about it. Maybe some like really boring colors, because that seems to also be prevalent in the lawyer theme world. Now, some people might add like more, like one little very specific feature to that thing, but it's mostly about presentation.
Sure.
I would think, yeah.
Sure. You recently wrote a post and published some data about how long it took you to create a theme.
Yeah.
For folks who are out there just diving into this, what's the rough amount of time they should expect to be pouring into a new theme? Now, not taking into account that you're already sort of familiar with this stuff and you may actually have an internal framework for your themes, but just a basic rough amount of time.
Right. Yeah. So I think the post that I just published was for sort of a simpler magazine style theme, and that took me by the numbers, I think 32 hours, 27 minutes. And in that post, I sort of go into a few things that that doesn't take into, that's like actual coding time.
Sure.
That doesn't take into account the fact that I started with another theme previously developed. So I sort of have like an archetype theme that we start with. So it doesn't take into account that. It doesn't take into account the amount of time it takes to do a demo, which I take a lot of time with just to make it really nice. Marketing, images that have to be generated for it, and uploading it to these different places. But, there are also tools out there that you can use to start with that will cut down the time. I think there's, Underscores is one that goes around a lot. That is a very base theme, though. There's like no styles really to it at all. So you're essentially starting with code bits, and that's about it. But yeah, I mean, it depends. Now, that one took 32 hours baseline, but I have another theme called Checkout, Checkout. It was called something else initially, but that took significantly more time because then we're dealing with easy digital downloads and all of the intricacies there and fine tuning that. And so yeah, it really depends on what kind of theme you're looking to make.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the numbers that we see internally is probably, much like you, again, depends on the style of theme, but anywhere between, 25 to 75 hours,
totally.
On a theme, being a little bit generous. And the biggest surprise, which I think a lot of folks are not ready for, is the amount of time it takes to create a demo.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And I remember listening to your podcast with Brian Krogsgaard, and I remember you talking about sort of some of this very same stuff. And I remember just sitting there listening, going, talk about the demo. and you brought it up, and you were like, and demos could take like 40 hours because you're literally building a site.
Oh, man,
right?
you absolutely
and
are.
shaping it. And you just forget how long it takes.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you need to present it to people looking at all the multiple templates and content pieces. It's crazy.
Yeah, it would be crazy to spend so much time building a theme and then not present it properly, how, people are going to actually see it. Somebody had actually written a comment on, I don't know if it was that baseline post or what, but they were kind of asking about the demo. And I said, well, think about it like Apple does. Do you think that they whip together those screenshots and product images like overnight? The hell no, they don't. It takes so much time because to them, they might the feature might be lackluster, but they're going to present it in a way that you think it's the best feature in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So demo's got to be the same way.
How would you handle support? Is there anything different that you would do? Would you go straight to email, straight to Help Scout, something else?
Yeah, straight to Help Scout. I was actually just chatting with my coworker John recently because we've used different things at the very beginning. I used a forum. Then I went to something called Tender Support, which is kind of like Help Scout is now, but it was not nearly as good. Then I went back to a forum, ePress, and then we killed that and went to Help Scout. And there's just no possible way you could go back. There is no better solution, in my opinion, than something like Help Scout or one of the help desks like it. Not to say that Help Scout's the best one, but that method of handling support, that's just the best.
Yeah, I totally agree. We went from And I think actually no, we always I maybe dabbled with a forum in the beginning, but I was like I just don't even want to update the plugin. Like I don't even want to have to be responsible for maintaining spam comments and updating the plugin. Never mind like using this as a support tool.
Yeah.
Coming from the telecom world, I went with a traditional help desk. We use Freshdesk.
Oh, that's another one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I love it. I love their mobile app even more.
That's really cool.
But, I mean, was that your biggest concern with bbPress? Because I hear a lot of people sort of balancing bbPress or Help Scout. Was it just maintaining all of that content you didn't want to be responsible for?
Absolutely. It was that. And like you said, it was almost, we were afraid to update it because there's just too many working parts. And if you start to modify it even just a little bit, or not, even if you don't modify it, you can update it and it still breaks things. So we just couldn't keep doing that, and like you said, just you're essentially managing it at that point. That takes away from the time that you could actually be supporting people.
Yeah. The last $1 million question in launching a theme business is, now remember, Array doesn't exist. You've changed your name to Bill Themer. And nobody knows who you are. You've got a fresh start. How would you handle marketing and promoting and growing the business right out of the gate? Would you do something different than what you do now, knowing you have no ties to Array? How would you sort of relaunch this business or launch this new theme business?
That's a very good question. That's tricky, man. There are, I tend to try to find more organic ways of doing that, and that's maybe reaching out and having conversations with people to sort of maybe promote with them and their company. So another thing is just getting to know the people in the community, because if you are making honest products, which I would advise you to do from the very beginning, people are going to be more willing to promote those for you. You won't even have to ask them in some cases, because you're making the better product. People feel comfortable promoting products like that. So if I had nothing to start with, I would start aligning myself with people who I thought could help in that sense. And don't ever buy click ads anymore, obviously. Well, not click ads. Google ads, I'm sure people still get a lot of use out of, but the 125 by 125 is getting blocked by AdBlock, so don't waste your money there. Yeah. That's a tough one, and that I think another thing would be relying on the marketplace or potentially a WordPress repo to guide those customers to you without having to do too much.
Yeah, I think that there's sort of this. It's not even modesty. It's it's something else. We've kind of touched upon it before. I can't think of a real good word for it, but a lot of us in the WordPress space, we're sort of afraid to say, not everybody, and to some level of degree, but I think some of us are afraid to really sell our product.
Oh, sure.
Maybe it's not because we're so literal, as I think anyway, as people in this space, like, very binary, ones or zeros.
Oh yeah.
But I'm looking at the product page for the iPad Pro right now, and this is just a blip about the screen, and it reads, "An epic screen that turns advanced tasks into brilliant immersive experiences." Right? Like, it's a screen, people. Right?
Yeah.
It's like every other screen that you're looking at in the year 2016. Sure, it's Retina. You'd really have to pull out a magnifying glass to see the differences, and it's bright and it's clear. I get it, but it's not something that takes my tasks and makes them brilliant and immersive.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think a lot of us in the WordPress space miss upon those sort of marketing cues.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think there's a lot of customers, when you go and buy, like I was at Home Depot and I was looking at hoses, right? Garden hoses.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the garden hoses, and each one has about 20 bullet points on the front of features. And you're like, come on, this is a hose, right? And it's like, made from, poly rubber that, works to, 300 degrees of the Mars surface. And you're like, come on,
yeah.
Right? It's never going to get that hot, right?
Oh, that's great.
So I think that we sort of miss that opportunity to sort of, make it more wow for the customer.
Oh yeah, I think it's two part. It's that where I think a lot of people are. You don't want to sound too like heavy on the like adjectives and like
Sure.
make it seem like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. You want to have some sort of modesty, like you were saying. And I think just as well, like you said, there's none of us are great marketers because
Right.
we're most of the time focused on creating products, and good marketing is done by marketers. I mean, it is a skill and it is a trade, and people who have studied marketing are good at marketing. That's just the trade-off, and that's something I'm not great at marketing my products. I've definitely tried to get better, and started to look into ways that we can do that, but I'm not great at it, and sometimes I'll find myself like not promoting enough. I'm like, what am I doing? I have to like
Sure.
start like shoving this down people's throats like
Right.
everyone else is. But
Yes.
yeah, it's tough. It's a tough balance.
Yes, there is no one else out there who's going to promote your product for you.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
You are, if you are somebody that has, and I would argue that you do have a passionate following. Now, do you have a passionate following that's promoting you as much as, say, Studio Press? No, but I mean, Studio Press has been doing this for many, many years,
Totally.
if not the first. There's a lot of, lag time, either ahead of you or behind you, however you want to look at it. But there's all of that.
Totally.
And you have to get out there and promote your product. That would probably be number one, is just getting out there and promoting your product, especially if you're just launching.
Absolutely.
Okay, to wrap up this episode, is there any other business advice, be it within the WordPress space or otherwise, that you'd probably want to leave our listeners with?
I would say, no matter what you're doing, just be honest with your products and services. It will go a long way. And what I mean by that is just like, when you're making it, keep these people in mind that are going to be using it. Don't take shortcuts, because they're gonna come up eventually. If not with a customer, you're gonna have to deal with your own shortcuts later. I would say also study design a little bit. I mean, that survey that I released, the stats said that that's the number one thing people are looking for with WordPress themes in particular, is design. So even if you're not a designer, you don't have to be. You need to know what is kind of objectively good and what isn't, so that you can at least get the right people to make those products. If that's the number one thing people are looking for, that is what I would at least spend some time just learning basic principles on. And I think two of those two things go a long way,
Or as I read on a diner placemat today, in it to make a living, not a killing.
That's what I'm saying. That is like so poignant, and I might have to take that over.
Yeah. Hey, this is an amazing episode. Probably roughly almost an hour. If folks, I hope you're still listening to it. It's great. It's great stuff. You better still be listening to it. This is season 3, people.
Yeah.
It's all about engagement. So
right.
Make sure you're listening all the way to the end. Mike, where can folks find you to say thanks?
Yeah, sure. I'm our website is arraythemes.com. I'm on Twitter personally at Mike McAlister, and you can just find us, man. Just Google us. You'll find the way.
You're in every marketplace ever created for WordPress.
Yeah, we're around. You'll see us somewhere. Send us a message.
I saw you on the back of a bus, in fact.
I might get on that placemat at that restaurant.
Yeah, you probably should. Folks, thanks for listening. You can subscribe at mattreport.com/subscribe. Join the mailing list. As always, we'd love a 5-star review. If you loved Season 3, Episode 1, How to Start a Theme Business, go on over there, leave a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. We'd love to stay one of the number 1 ranking WordPress podcasts on iTunes. And if you want to hear something slightly different, different speed or different pace, tune in to pluggedinradio.com. Go over there, pluggedinradio.com, and check out the new podcast. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.